From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. Negotiations continued over the weekend and 4 new programs are expected to be added to the recon. I have the breaking news today. The roads and bridges blocked because of not just the progressives, but also the president. Oh boy, the breaking news on this one as well. $1.75 trillion was the deal unveiled last week, but the price tag could go higher. How high is the recon going? I have the latest details in this big recording. Programs in and programs out. You thought the deal was done last Thursday. It's not. This is great news because over the weekend they negotiated new programs to be added. I'll go over which ones are being added. Then, student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. Whose debt are unpacked next for a potential presidential executive order. Then, the fifth stimulus heats up right after fourth stimulus, and this would be the big lift of your benefits right after COLA. I have all those incredible details and more as we go into a big afternoon. The exciting details is that the recon is not done because great provisions are being added to a good bill to make it better. The Build Back Better Act is getting better, as Bernie Sanders promised on Friday. And in this recording, we hear about the new programs being added. Whoa, it is huge. It is big. It is very exciting, and we're far from over with this because a lot more can be still added. And this is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day and hope the weather is good where you are. Student loan debt could be forgiven with a new round coming around the corner. $10,000 of the latest details on this. Programs in and programs out. What happened with that recon? Those negotiations continued over the weekend. I'll go over which programs came in and which are still coming on in. Price looked like it was 1.75, but more items could be added. Then this exciting details is that the negotiations for the roads and bridges blocked because of not just the progressives, but also the president. A deal was to be happening last week, but we will still have a deal. More provisions are being added. I have the latest details on that, and then we'll be going over your COLA raises more. It's a big afternoon's broadcast. We're starting right here, and this is LALATE, America's only 24-hour day, 7 days a week financial news channel in America. I'm very excited you're here. Like this video and consider becoming a member. And if you've not subscribed, please do. 400,000 subscribers at YouTube record in 1 year and 140 million views in a year and a half. Excited to have you here. We have a full slate of programming today. Coming up next is Overnight's Crypto and Evenings LALATE, where the news cycle is expected to be totally different. It's in 2 hours from now, Evenings LALATE, so do not miss that video as well. Let's go right into the breaking news. We're going to go over this recon that passed 3 weeks ago in a House subcommittee. Price tag at $3.5 trillion. And that recon is for single individuals. Married people, people with children, people without children, people who are seniors, people who are young, people on disabilities, people not on disabilities. And the incredible details of this recon is it pays you a lot of money. It'll pay the viewers of this channel on average across these provisions, these clusters, about $15,000. As soon as it becomes law, I'm going to be here to show you how to get this money. Like on the third stimulus, did you get $40,000? I hope you did. That's coming up later in this video, how to get this big sums of money, more than one check, a lot of them. Splattered across 3 clusters. I have the latest details, and yes, some provisions out, back on in. Today, here we go. Cluster number 1, hazard pay, and $4,000 of elder care. So the hazard pay is incredible. The earned income tax credit brought in for more and more a year for those essential workers. $4,000 of elder care. They got it in there as well. $4,000 for caring for the young children. The Pell's grant made tax-free and then broadening it by $550 per year per student. Then they got money in there to repair the home. Low-income housing, definitely free. They got money in there for the CTC 1 more year $3,600 to $3,000. A lot of breaking news about that. Later in this video, I go over the details of the eligibility because the eligibility on some of these provisions has changed. Then we got money in there for the bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufactured. This is existing law pre-Trump. They're just extending it for 10 more years. 15% for the purchase of a new electric bike. $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric vehicle, and there you go. That is the deliciousness of the first cluster. Now, if you're new to this channel, new to this recording, remember when I say in or out, I mean it's at the time of this recording. Situations changing by the hour, on the hour, and as soon as something comes in or out, I deliver those details to you. First add-on is the first of three, and guess what? It's in there. Yes, but not in the precision that we may have thought. This is the $25,000 for the purchase of your first home from Maxine Waters. She didn't get that in there directly, but she did get other types of housing provisions in there. A lot of it, nearly $200 billion of it. It's money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, and also home repairs. You just saw one of them in the first cluster. Let's go to the second cluster. And boy, here we go. Here comes a surprising breaking news. Home repairs and paid leave. First, paid leave and medical leave out as of this weekend and reportedly coming on back in. Oh boy, there's a push to really get it back in. I'll have the latest details on this one. Household tax credit in there, child care tax credit in there, pre-kindergarten in there, community college out, and then money for weatherizing your home. Definitely in there. You need to weatherize your home, especially as you start to get decorations up for Thanksgiving. When Chris and Sinema comes knocking the door, say, a turkey? No, Ham, I was referring to you. There we go. Let's go to the second cluster, the second add-on of checks, and it's incredible. It is the Bob Casey, Joe Biden campaign promise, and it's home health care. Wow. Home health care got it in there for those people who are disabled, and also for seniors. Not at $250 billion, but at a smaller price tag, and this is free money. Free money for those home health care services provided to you from the state, funded by the federal government. Wow. More about that later in this video. Here we go. Stay with me in the final 15 minutes of this video. We have a lot coming up later, but here we go in that third cluster. Seniors and free internet. This is the cluster royale. The Game of Thrones cluster. Yeah. The Rumble of West Side Story cluster. Okay, here we go. Free schools meals for all checks. They got it in there. Cheaper prescription medication out. But more about that in a second. There's a push, and they think it's going back in there. Immigration reform in there. Farmers, I believe, out. Free internet, I don't know. Clean energy out. Workers, independent contractors, don't know. And then dental, vision, and hearing, lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. Whoa, let's go over that details right now. First, you heard about the immigration reform in that third cluster. It was always in the third cluster. I never really said it on air before because it doesn't really concern you and me. But guess what? This week, the Senate parliamentarian will be reviewing the recon again because now that provision's in there. It's likely the provision will not survive. There's a push underway to get it in there from Senator Bob Menendez and others, but if it fails, it has to come out. The money doesn't come out. The money can get reallocated to you. Whoa. Then let's go over the Medicare expansion. They broaden the eligibility across 50 states. I'll explain this later in this video. Stay with me. I got a lot coming up in this video. They got the hearing in there, but not the dental and vision. Push underway to still get it in there this week, and I have the latest details. It's great. It's coming up later in this video. Which brings us to our third add-on, that monthly IRS stimulus check. The great news when you look at the situation is exactly as I told you it was on Thursday. On Thursday, we really didn't know what was going on. It looked like the president was debuting in a press conference in the Oval Office, the done recon. It looked like it was done. It looked like that's it. Whatever's there, that's what you get, nothing else. I said, I don't feel it. I just don't feel it. I think there's something else going on. Over the weekend, I said that it didn't seem very clear why provisions were removed, and then suddenly Thursday debuted, and there we go. By the weekend, you heard the world exclusive on this channel, that it was not a done deal, that it was just a deal to send the president off to a climate conference in Europe, looking like he had an agreement, not a bill, not a law, to lower emissions in the United States as required as part of this climate conference attendance. Well, he got that agreement, but what about the provisions that had fallen out? Where were they? Why did they fall out? We now know today that many of the provisions didn't really fall out. They just weren't finished. Oh boy, you're going to see later in this video, like prescription medication, did not fall out. All weekend long, I asked you, why did it drop out? We now learn it never fell out. It just wasn't finished. And in fact, that's the case with some other provisions. Wow. And that is big news because guess what? Advocacy is working. You need to continue to advocate because advocacy starts, as Jennifer says on this channel. How many times have you called to advocate for an MSC today? How many senators have you called up? How many senators, Chris Coons, Casey, Warren, Sanders, Schumer, have you advocated? Chuck Schumer is part of the important equation because he's told viewers repeatedly, week after week, day after day, his office that he's inserting a monthly IRS stimulus check provision on the Senate side. Several opportunities to add provisions like this before they get this to a final bill, before they get this to a vote. After they get this to a vote, but before amendment, during amendment, a lot of opportunities across the board. Let's read that incredible message of advocacy because it applies to us, and concerns our situation across the board. The message is from the Chief of Staff to the #1 legislator in the recon. And the message says, don't stop advocating because the situation is far from over. And today you see that very evidently in this recording. We now have in total between congressional senatorial offices, you see more context of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the American Petition, 3 million. Now they have a better understanding of what the American people are going through. And they have heartbreaking stories from the LA viewers, and they have the voice of the people across the nation in you, LA, as you have become too loud to be ignored. I really appreciate that. Let's read the last sentence on air together with one another. Please continue to encourage your continued encouragement for the continued advocacy as the professional voice of the people you have become, and push until this becomes law. If there's anything more evident about that last sentence is what Bernie Sanders said this weekend. He was on a broadcast channel being interviewed about provisions missing for the recon. And he said during the interview, I've been working all Saturday on this issue. And as soon as I get out of this production studio to record this interview from the broadcast channel, I'm going right back on home and getting on the phone to make sure we have it in there. Does that sound like the Purple Power? It sounds exactly like the Purple Power. That sounds exactly what he did. Spent his entire Saturday, his Halloween Saturday. He spent the Sunday, and then as soon as he came out of an interview, he went right back to home and picked up the phone and started calling. Have you been calling? There we go. In the second half of this video, we have a lot going on. We're going to go over the provisions, which ones are being added in today, and which ones still could be added in. Then we go over, well, I told you so. We now learned that the president was part of the process to stop the roads and bridges from being called for a vote. Not just the progressives. 1.75, well, we could be going higher. And then programs in, programs out, I'll have the latest details on that as well. And then student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. And then the exciting details of fifth stimulus coming right behind that. It is exciting, great news. We have a lot in the second half of this video. I'll be back with you as a jaw-dropping Afternoons LA continues. See you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. A big afternoon to LA continues right now with a deal happening, but the negotiations continuing. You heard the message before the commercial break. Bernie spent all Halloween on the phone advocating for stimulus insertions across the board. LA told you so. It was not just the progressives, it was also the president who blocked the roads and bridges from being called for a vote last week. Whoa. It shows you where the priorities are with the president. The progressive priorities. Then the price is right. 1.75, but we will be going higher. Because guess what? Programs are going in. Which programs? I have the latest details in the second half of this video. Then student loan debt forgiveness. More debt could be forgiven. Whose debts could be forgiven? I'll go over the latest detail. And the big offer and why the Democrats should take the offer. Then the exciting details of COLA. 5 to 0.9%. Your benefits are going up next year, but get ready for fifth stimulus. It's right behind that, and that is that SSI and SSDI reform. We have a huge recording, and it's a huge day. I told you, you're going to see it lit like you can't imagine this week. And that's even before Jerome Powell appears on Capitol Hill to talk about your economy this week twice. And this is LALATE. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Coming up next is overnight's crypto. Big developing details. I was the first person to tell you about Decentraland at 70 cents. It went up 300% after my recording. Can you imagine the crypto coins that I'm recommending are going up 300% in 24 to 48 hours? I don't think you can make money anywhere else. That's coming up next. And then we have Evenings LA, Evenings Countdown, and Street and Stimulus, part of our now 3-hour binge block viewing recording session. But let's turn to the exciting details, which unfolds right now. It is huge. You may have seen a press conference from the President of the United States last Thursday, but I immediately told you it was not the done deal, the recon. Why was it not the done deal? The President was going overseas for a climate conference, and the climate conference required countries to certify that they were going to drop their emissions over the next 10 years. Carbon emissions. He did not have a law. He did not have a bill. He had to at least have an agreement, whether it was formalized or not formalized. And that is what he did. And that is why he made it look like he had an agreement, but he didn't. The real breaking news is that more items are going into the recon. And what are those items? Let's go over them right now. This is breaking news you're hearing for the first time on Afternoons LA. So, here is the first major provision that's being added into the recon, and I told you it would be coming back. Bernie told you it was going to be coming back. Program in. You ready for this one? Here we go. The program in is... can we hit the button? There we go. The program in is medication. Pallone, Senators Chris Murphy, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and A.B. Klobuchar, along with Mark Kelly, continued negotiations of the insertion of expansion of prescription medication on Thursday. Those negotiations continued over the weekend. In fact, this comes after the president on Wednesday night solidified an agreement with Kristen Sinema. And this is after Sinema spoke with Pelosi about the weekend about the issue. And the White House was also part of the negotiations. What did Sanders say? He said he spent all Saturday on this, and then on Sunday he was back on the phone at home to make sure that we have it done. Plus a negative, Pallone is bullish on the situation, thinking, and he says, I think we're very close to a deal. We're going to get a bill that has negotiated prices that's going to make the difference in terms of people being able to afford their medication. Peters and Pallone, on the other hand, said, I think we've come a long way on the policy, but they're not quite sure if they have all 50 votes yet. What are the details? The draft will expand Medicare beyond Medicare Plan B. I had told you the situation was the following. Going into Wednesday, we had Medicare Plan B in there, lower prescription medication for Medicare Plan B. This is for people who are on diabetes medication, insulin, and similar. I told you by Wednesday night, the president had a big win. And what was that big win? He picked up the phone and contacted Kristen Sinema again for the umpteenth time in many, many years. And that statement and the negotiations yielded a deal. Sinema agreeing, even though she has Big Pharma in her pockets, to expand Medicare cheaper prescription medication prices lower beyond just Medicare Plan B. But Thursday morning, when the deal was revealed in the press conference, no mention of prescription medication whatsoever, shocking Bernie Sanders. So we now see it's heading into Medicare Plan D, or Part D. Here we go. The latest draft is to include a redesign of Medicare Part D, will include prescription medication negotiations and rebates, and will be very expansive, but not as expansive as H.R. 3, which was a very, very well talked about medication bill, but will have the same general types of provisions. Whoa, that's the first program in. The second program in, you see it in this weekend. It's the immigration reform, but I believe it's not going to survive. And if it doesn't survive, that immigration reform is going to come out from the Senate parliamentarian, and the money's going to be reallocated to you. The third breaking details is the paid leave. If there was ever an item that everyone's talking about on every single channel, on every single place of broadcast media, it's the paid leave. What's paid leave and medical leave? Paid leave. Your wife is giving birth to your first child tomorrow. You want to watch the birth? You have to stay home from work? Well, it's on your dollar, currently under U.S. law. If your son broke his leg and you're a single parent and you have to stay home to take care of your son and cook him a meal, you want to stay home from work? You have to do it on your own dollar. We're the only modern country of modern era that does not have paid family leave and paid medical leave. Well, this was part of a campaign promise from the President of the United States. Who's blocking it? Joe Manchin. So, what is the situation today? The situation today is that negotiations ramped up in September, and even as early as January, a coalition of West Virginian legislators went to Joe Manchin's home state. He's the guy blocking the paid leave. And in June, they continued it with launching TV and commercial ads, and they're doing them much the same today to encourage Joe Manchin to change his position. His position is it's too expensive for companies. We can't spend that type of money on companies. But Senator Kristen Gillibrand and Patty Murphy believes they still think they can get it done. It's downright shameful that America is the only developed nation where working people are not given paid leave if they have a child, get seriously injured, or need to take off because of a loved one. And to make it abundantly clear, I'm going to keep fighting to get paid leave included. The last one, also detailed on this channel over the weekend. I started detailing it on Thursday. I told you it was going to go in. It comes from Gothenheimer. And this comes as House Democrats last week said that the state and local tax relief known as SALT would in fact get into the recon. House Democrats have insisted that excluding SALT would be a deal breaker and that they would be voting against the recon. Let's say that a little bit clear, because this is the first time you're hearing this on this channel. Gothenheimer is from New Jersey, and New Jersey, like New York and California, really benefit from the lifting the cap on the state and local tax deduction. It's called SALT. And he said last week on Friday with Bernie, talking about medication and vision and dental, and Nancy talking about paid leave, that they're going to get it into the final draft of the recon. Well, we now learn today that they will, and if they don't, they're pulling their support of the recon. And this is not a few people. This is not a few people. And Nancy cannot afford to lose anyone else on that recon on the House side, because her margin is just a few Democrats. And I'm saying even if all progressives vote in favor, she doesn't get the progressives as well. Well, then you have a big situation. Provisions being added? Absolutely. 1.75 is the current recon price, but we could be going higher, and I detailed this for you over the weekend. We had the first statement coming from Bernie about medication, Nancy about paid leave, and Gothenheimer about SALT. Then on Saturday and Sunday, we had Ron Wyden, who said, you know what? We have a significant amount of work to do. Yes, that's great news. Great news, because a lot of stuff needs to go in there. The deal is not done until the Senate acts. Great. Chris Coon says, of course, there's going to be proposals. Jalapal says, my phone has been ringing off the hook. Senators texting me saying they still want to negotiate. If senators are able to come up to a decision with more than 50 votes, I bless it. AOC says, there's an openness and willing to negotiate on what certainly looks it like at the moment. And there hasn't been a real sort of commitment to anything specific at the moment. Debbie Stable now, Michigan, says we will get changes. And then Chuck Schumer, of course, presents the recon to the Senate parliamentarian this week for that immigration reform, and that's likely not to continue. And Senator Chris Coons, of course, says there's dozens of proposals that people are going to be adding in there to the recon. let's make this very clear because you heard a lot of sentences in that list. That is adding it before it's actually bill. Where is the legislation? It was put into a subcommittee called the House Rules Subcommittee right after that Thursday press conference by the president. Nancy put it in there, and she immediately asked the House and senators, if you want to add stuff, put it in there right now. So this is not the vote-a-rama. This is very early in the process. A lot of details across the board. Mindset check. I want to do something sort of new now and here and there called mindset check. One person posted on social media saying something like, so whatever happened to that October 31st vote? I guess it passed. You don't want it to happen. You don't want an October 31st vote to happen on the recon. Stuff is missing for the recon. You want the recon bigger. You don't want to vote on something that's not done. You want to vote on something that is good, that is done. And so now let's turn a little bit more over to the provisions in and out. And here is a couple messaging. Number one, I've already told you if it's out today, it could be in a few hours from now. Second, the president and his cabinet members not making a good job of detailing what's in and out of the recon. So that situation is very fluid. So let's go over some of the provisions right now, and then we'll cut back over to Bernie and his messaging as well. So pre-kindergarten got it in there. 1 year, free pre-K 3 to 4 year olds. About 6 million American children. They got childcare in there. They got the child tax credit. Now, this is where broadcast media, I think, is butchering the story. It's 1 year, and it's $3,600 or $3,000. It's low income. I had told you it's $60,000 as the low income threshold, that they had tried to get it to 110. Broadcast media is saying it's at 150. 150,000. I think that's a printing error. I don't think that's the agreement. The earned income tax credit, spanning that for 1 more year for my essential workers. Then the home health care. Yes. This, again, is a misprint. It says permanently changing Medicaid to now offer home health care for seniors and people with disabilities. It's not a lifetime change. It doesn't have that type of funding in there. Medicaid expansion across the 50 states. Then we have hearing, which will be covered by Medicare. And then we have the money for the home repairs. Yeah, $150 billion of it, like rehab, construction improvements. The Pell Grant increasing by $550 per student. Then we have free school meals for all when in school during the school year. And then when not in school, it's $65 a month. You're going to get additional on top of everything you have there. So that's where we're starting. Now, we had those comments from Bernie on Friday saying, it's shocking that these provisions are missing. What were the provisions? They were prescription medication, dental, and vision. Going into the press conference on Thursday, Bernie said on Wednesday, the number one thing on people's mind is they're being ripped off by pharmaceuticals, paying 10% more for pharmaceuticals in this country than in other countries. Any bill must have real negotiations of those prices. He got those negotiations over this weekend. So that is the great progress. He said Thursday that he was shocked and horrified that what happened. And I didn't understand what happened either. You saw this on this channel all this weekend, that I said Wednesday night the president negotiated with Sinema to expand it beyond Medicare Plan B. Got that agreement. Huge win for the president. And then we wake up Thursday morning, poof, everything for prescription medication gone. I said, who took it out? It wasn't Joe, it wasn't Nancy, it wasn't the other Joe, it wasn't Bernie. Who took it out? Now we learned it wasn't really taken out. It just wasn't finished, so it couldn't be debuted. Okay. Maybe that's the way they're spinning it. But the good news is in there. He says the best bill since the 1960s, Bernie says, but Americans are sick and tired of paying higher medication. And there's major gaps missing in this recon. I'm glad for the expansion for hearing care, but we need a lot more. Am I going to support it? I can't answer that question, but I am going to make a good bill better. Are you going to add provisions? Absolutely. Medicare and family leave and hearing aid and dental vision and prescription medication. So now let's go to the second thing about the dental vision and hearing. He says this is not the richest country in the globe, and yet we have no money for people's teeth in their mouth, and they cannot hear and they cannot see. We must have serious negotiations on that as well. This is where it gets interesting. So 3 provisions: dental, vision, hearing. Dental, the most expensive. Vision, the cheapest. Why is hearing in there but not vision? Doesn't make really good sense at all. Vision is easier, cheaper, and it helps a lot more people because a lot more people need vision, like eyeglasses, than people that need hearing aids. So not particularly clear why the vision didn't get in there, but the hearing did. The dental, even more confusing, because guess what? The president said, I can't do 10 years. I'll do 3 years, Bernie. Bernie said, I want a little bit more than 3 years. Then Nancy said, how about vouchers, $800 a year, because we can't implement it. If we become law today, we can't implement it for several years. Bernie said, this doesn't work. I said, $800 is not enough. And then we wake up Thursday morning, poof, everything gone. No dental. No dental. No dental. No vision. Vision's so cheap. Why is vision not in there? Not particularly clear. And that is why Bernie was negotiating for that all this weekend long. Is it a red line? Of course it's a red line. Now, here was the fascinating part of that, also that interview going into the weekend. Bernie said that we need to have assurances from the Senate that the recon will pass. Do we have 50 senators supporting the recon? Question mark. Bernie says, I don't know. Since day one, both of the bills, the roads and bridges and the recon, have been linked. We don't want to see infrastructure and not pass in the House and not have roads and not have recon passed in the Senate. What's going on? Yes, this is really fascinating details. We now know what happened between the events of early last week and Thursday. Two bodies of legislation, roads and bridges and recon. Now we're going to go to the procedural part of this video. The procedural part is, how is the recon voted upon? You must, categorically must, have the recon voted first, or at least once, in the Senate. A vote on the recon in the House doesn't do anything for anyone because it's likely to pass the House. It's the Senate where the recon has to pass because you have to have Sinema and Manchin nailed down to the provisions. An IOU, as AOC, doesn't cut it. Writing on the back of an envelope, as AOC says, doesn't cut it. You have to actually have a vote on the Senate side by those 50 senators passed. Well, here's the issue. Two bodies of legislation, recon, not passed in the House or the Senate yet. Roads and bridges already passed in the Senate. It just leaves left the House. And if you call the roads and bridges on a vote in the House, you're done on the roads and bridges, leaving the recon to fend for itself. Not going to happen. What happened? Pelosi and Pramila, the battle of the ages. They met several times last week, and Pramila, the head of the Progressive Caucus, Jalapal, said to Pelosi, don't call the vote on the roads and bridges. I'll block it. The progressives will block it. We have enough House Democratic progressives to block it. Pelosi said, no, they are not linked. They are linked, Pelosi. They are linked. You do not call the vote on the roads and bridges first. We'll block it. Then Pramila told to press, and I ran the quote, don't underestimate the progressives. She said that on a Wednesday. I thought she was talking about the power of how many members she has to vote of it. She was not. She was talking about the strategy of the progressives. Unbeknownst to you, unbeknownst to me, until I delivered the report on Friday and Saturday this last weekend, that Pramila is very close with Ron Klain. He is the president's chief of staff. And guess what? He's very close with the progressives and does not really talk at all to the moderate Democrats. So, starting last week, Pramila was speaking to Ron Klain and saying, hey, Ron, make sure the president does not mention anything about voting for the roads and bridges because we have to protect the recon. And he made that promise to Pramila. The president would not. Pelosi then brought the president to the House and Senate members on a Thursday morning. The purpose, you know why. To have the president tell them, call the vote on the roads and bridges. I want to pass it today. She walked hand in hand with the president down the halls, with the press, with the broadcast media, ready for the visual. You saw the visual. It looked like they were aligned. They were not. The president went into the meetings with the Democrats that Thursday morning and said, I like both bodies of law. You're doing good work. Thank you. Have a good day. See you in Rome. Pelosi was furious. Reportedly, during the chat, the president never called for a vote on the roads and bridges. Pelosi instead did call for a vote on the roads and bridges, and that is what Pelosi said to the progressives, and that's what Pramila told us. Shortly after the president landed in Rome, Pelosi met with two other people. The great news about this is it does not include Chuck Schumer. It's Steny Hoyer, the majority leader in the House, and the minority whip of the Senate, Jim Clyburn. Furious that there was no ask, quote, no ask for the recon, for the roads and bridges. The president never asked for the roads and bridges to be called for a vote, which means that Pelosi wanted it to happen. In fact, as soon as the president was landing in Rome, Pelosi was actually sending out tweets saying, call the vote on the roads and bridges. Never happened. And it won't happen. This is where the situation is very good for you right now. The roads and bridges will be blocked and will continue to be blocked. And the president will not certify the roads and bridges to be called for a vote. It will be blocked in the House until the Senate first approves the great thing for the roads, and the recon will be blocked in the recon will be called for a vote in the Senate first, and if on the House side, the roads and bridges will be blocked until that point. All right, let's go over to the programs in and programs out. I got more about these as well. Very, very exciting details about these provisions. So, as you've seen, there's been a lot of confusion about some of the deal provisions, and it's a very fluid situation because we don't have a bill yet. We have a markup of a bill. And even when I see some of the data coming out, I said, that doesn't sound right. Child care tax credit? Yeah. So broadcast media is trying to say the child tax credit is brought into people who make $150,000 or less. I don't see that. My notes showed it. They were trying to get 110. They didn't get it. It was staying at $60,000. It's for low-income people. Why would you make $150,000? Would you be getting $3,600 to care for your child? It doesn't make sense. Community college out. Pell's grant expanded by $550. The paid leave, what number would it come in at? Well, we last saw it dropping from 12 weeks to 4 weeks. I like the 4 weeks. I like the low income, but the problem I have with it is it should not be just employees. It should also be W-2s and 1099s. It's $100 billion. So do 3 weeks and broaden it some more people who are, it should be all low income workers. I don't care what, if you're W-2 or 1099. It's still going to be $100 billion. $100 billion is cheap. It's very, very cheap in this recon. Prescription medication, you've seen the update. The Medicare expansion, we do not know if it dropped from 65 to 55, as Bernie wanted it, or 60 like Casey wanted it. We have great news that the child care expanded. The clean energy out. The health insurance expanded. Yes, viewers have been asking about it. Shorter number of weeks, but yes, cheaper prescription, cheaper health insurance. Housing ain't in there. Great news that I detailed in this video. 175. Oh, wow. Third recon was 47 billion. This one's 175. Good number. It's triple. It's more than triple. In-home health care, 100 to 200 billion. There you go. And you heard about the SALT, which is from Gothenheimer, and you heard Pelosi. Situation very fluid. As Bernie said, I spent all weekend long calling. Did you spend the weekend leaving voice messages? Did you talk to those legislators? Did you advocate? I'll have more about that in a second. And my commentary as we bring this back together. Stay with me. But first, let's turn to student loan debt. More debt could be forgiven. And that is that the president offered $10,000 of student loan debt to be taken. Democrats should take it. He has already, by executive order, done 3 student loan debt forgiveness. First, forgave student loan debts for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Then forgave student loan debts for individuals who went to work in the nonprofit sector 10 years after graduation. Finally, people who went to work in the public sector 10 years after graduation. Their debts are forgiven. City, county, state, and federal government. As one viewer said in one of the beautiful videos about a week ago, I've been working for 20 years in the federal prisons. Do you mean my debts are forgiven? I said, yes, sir, they have. The viewer found it out by watching the video and being on the live chat. Now, the last offer is $10,000. Well, not the last offer. Current offer is $10,000. Democrats should take it, but keep the door open to do more later on. COLA, your benefits are going up next year, 5.9%. You got that letter from Social Security Administration. But get ready for fifth stimulus, because fifth stimulus is right behind it. And the great news is that they're already teeing it up. People always ask me, why talk about one body when we're talking about fourth stimulus? Because they take time. They're already working on it right now. House Budget Chair John Yarmuth says he spoke with Pelosi last week to insert that to get fifth stimulus ready, and it will include child care and senior care, money for you, SSI and SSDI, Medicare expansion. Remember, the members of the House subcommittee, budget subcommittee, said they were going to put a fifth stimulus check in there as well. So this would get very exciting as well. He says, I don't see the downside of this election year, especially when we try to do things really popular. This could potentially be stimulus checks much of next year. And this is where we're going. So let's do the analysis for it. First, your benefits are going to go up 5.9% currently under this COLA raise, but get ready for 2 more lifts after that. It is the first lift, one time, under fifth stimulus recon. It's the SSI, SSDI, Social Security, Railroad Benefits, Veterans Benefits. Then they'll apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark is inflation. And you're going to hear Jay Powell testify on Capitol Hill all this week long. Guess what he's going to say? He has to say it. If he doesn't, no one's going to believe it. That inflation is not a temporary spike. Now, it will come down, but it's going to not to be transitory. You had heard me talk about in July that inflation was going to go up very high in December and come back down. Ain't happening just yet. But inflation next year will likely be 1, 2, 3%, probably around 3% in December. This is big because you want that new benchmark, replacing COLA in December 2022 with inflation. And that would mean you would get 1, 2, 3 lifts up in 12 months for your beneficiaries. Incredible, great news. They're going to move the asset cap, dating back to a 1980s law that says you can't have more than $3,000 in hand. They're going to remove the income cap, dating back to a 1960s law that says you can't work. And they're going to remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be able to do a pair dance at your own wedding and get married and no longer fear loss of benefits. Finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The membership link is under the video, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The membership newsletter comes out from me to you, written by me, for you, sent by the YouTube alert system, and sent to me to you via the LALATE alert system. That alert system is also in the description of this video. It's at news.la.com/alerts. It's important to become a member. Beyond just getting an emoji behind your name, you get that newsletter. The newsletter features the big money on the first, second, and third stimulus. Guess what? Viewers are getting additional rounds. Have you gotten rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance before? You can get another round. Additional $13 billion is going out to your cities, counties, and states from Treasury. That letter is in the newsletter. That statement from Treasury is in the newsletter. People are getting small appliances like furnaces and portable heaters from the 5 nonprofits. They're featured in the newsletter. And then the money for rent, $40,000, yeah. The money for utilities, yes, all of them, up to $20,000. The money for SNAP, money for food, yes, up to $25,000. And the money for the other items like homeless people into shelters, money for clothing, and those small home repairs, they're all part of what's covered. As fourth stimulus settles down over the next few days, I will bring third stimulus back into the equation of the recordings. But now let's go into my personal message of where I see things happening this week. As the president comes back to U.S. soils, you're going to see more of the talk about the negotiations. It's very fascinating. Why is it very fascinating? Because on the Saturday and Sunday, broadcast media were mostly in Rome. They just wanted to have a really nice ciabatta sandwich. They all got up and they left and went to Rome. And even on Saturday and Sunday, you saw the reports on this channel. I said, my goodness, just dozens of legislators saying, I'm making modifications to the recon on a weekend, a Halloween weekend, where broadcast media is out of the country and the news stations are closed down. There's a lot of news. Now, as we come into a Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday, boy, imagine the amount of talk of modification. Mindset is always very important. Mindset is always very important because these provisions are a game changer. Every time another provision gets into this recon, it's more money in your wallet. It's more benefits to your bot, to your family, and you. Every single time another provision gets in there, it's a lot. Paid leave, for example, $1,700 a week, approximately under third stimulus proposed. If you make $80,000 or more per year, even at $15,000 a year, it would be $400 a week. It's a lot of money. If you have to stay home because your wife has to go to chemo, you have to drive her to chemo, or you have to stay home because you broke your leg. All these things are critical, and you should not be taking them out of your own pocket. Paid leave and medical leave, really big issues. Unconscionable that they're not part of the American society. Not particularly clear why Joe Manchin would be opposed to it, other than that it costs money. But this is how a country has to operate. We're behind the equation on this one. We are not at equal level with the foreign countries. Foreign countries are in a better circumstance because they pay for it. And that is why it should be added. We're going to have a lot of details across the board, but remember to advocate. We have a whole slate of programming tonight. We have Overnight's Crypto coming up next, and then we have Evenings LALATE at 5 p.m. It's expected to be a totally different show because guess what? Rome's so expensive, so they can't keep those news reporters in Rome, for 5 days, even though they would love to just move there. So they're back in town, and that's why the broadcast, the news cycle is expected to be very different in 2 hours from now. Join me on Evenings LALATE, and guess what? Get ready for that new 3-hour programming block for Evenings LALATE, Evenings Countdown, and Stream Stimulus, which is now revamped. It's now a 3-hour programming block of recent shows all together. Sit back and you can binge watch for 3 hours. And with that, subscribe. 4,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused, keep on smiling, keep on advocating, keep on looking positive, and have a beautiful day. And stay with LA for more.